Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sanborn Regional School Board meeting for Wednesday, July 22nd. It is currently 6:05 p.m. and we'll call the meeting to order by starting with the pledge. Yep. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okey-doke. I hope everyone is doing well this summer. I haven't talked to anybody that much, which is probably a good thing for all of you. Let's have some action on the minutes from 6/17/26.
I make a motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Now, 1, 2, 3, you're
Staying.
saying, okay. That's 5, I believe, in favor. Ken, is that 6 in favor and 1 abstention? Okay. Manifests. They're going around on.
Yeah, it was a large stack.
Excellent.
Phyllis got us focused.
Thank you. Manifests are going around.
Thank you, Phil.
Okay. I'd like to take a moment now to welcome Adam Houghton, our new superintendent. We're very excited to have you, and your first report of our first nominations and resignations.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So I apologize as I'm new and trying to make sure I do this correctly. I know the board had voted to give me authority on hiring this summer, but I still wanted to bring the nominations forward for the board for review. So I have 3 nominations of teachers hired this summer. We have Carrie Quirk as a preschool teacher at Bakey School. We have Paul Newell, who is a special education case manager in the Zones program. He was previously a contracted employee. He is switching over to become a district employee. And Anthony Simodes, who is joining the high school as a math teacher. So very pleased to be able to land a math teacher this time of year. Who's well qualified. So
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Okay, and any resignations?
all right, I have 4 resignations for you this evening. We have Caitlin Pagnarato, who is preschool teacher at Bakey. We have Linda Morrison, who is a registered behavior technician / paraprofessional at the middle school. At the high school, we have Deidre Cotter, who's administrative assistant in the guidance office. And we have Joshua White, who is assistant principal at the high school.
Okay.
We don't
We
vote.
don't do anything with
We don't
those.
vote to accept.
Yeah, we don't do anything with
I'm
those.
very, I mean, I'll just say as a longtime parent in the community, losing Deidre and Josh, Linda has been with us for a long time. Caitlin, really sad, losing some more historical knowledge at the special.
Okay, let's move on to your report.
All right. So good evening, everyone. I apologize for a very long report. I'm hoping over time to shorten them a little bit for you once I get my full communication repertoire in place. But I did want to make sure that the board has a clear sense of everything that's going on in the district. The other thing, too, is we're sort of working on how best to distribute information to the board for board packets. So I was trying to give you sort of a folder where you could access everything. I'm more than willing to hear any feedback that you have. as we sort of try and develop things to make sure it meets everyone's interest and making sure you have all the information that you need. One thing too I did with that folder is I also shared it with the leadership team so they're aware of what is being communicated with the board, so to help improve their understanding of everything going on in the district. Next thing I have is in the folder I did share a copy of my entry plan. Big thanks to Rick, who had already given me a significant amount of feedback that I've been working to integrate into the entry plan. I very much would like any other feedback that you have. And you can feel free to send that to me because it's helpful for me to have that and be able to integrate those notes into it directly. But I want to make sure it's value and it is something that is actionable and helpful for the district as we move forward. So next thing I have is one of my sort of I would term it a make work project for me right now, but I've been spending a lot of time with your policy manual. I've found that to be a really good project for my time as I get used to things. I will say very clearly, I like a policy manual that's searchable, and the way the policy manual is currently on the website is not easily searchable. So I have been going through each policy and building out a Google spreadsheet with all of the links to a new Google folder that allowed me to make it searchable, as well as noting what the last revision date of the policy is. And then also what I did was took the policy database from the New Hampshire School Boards Association to reference that against it, along with their most recent revision of the policy. So that way you not only have the information of policy, and eventually I will build in a summary and keywords of each policy as well to make it easier, but also too, when the policy committee comes together around it, they have not only the information on each of the policies, they also have the ideal policies of what policies are most in need of revision the soonest. You do have a lot of policies that aren't necessarily in the New Hampshire School Boards Association database, so I think that's sort of a question you need to tackle. But what this sort of brought about for me was just the notion of getting our committees reactivated and trying to. There's a lot of work that happens in a school district. There's a lot of work that is essential that comes through our committee work. And I really want to, as I start, get a focus on getting our committees back up and functional. So I did cite the board language and policy in my report on board meetings that the full board is required by policy to meet once a month unless a second meeting is determined as being necessary for the by either the superintendent or the board chair. I know there's a lot going on right now for the full board, but thinking of how do we work smarter, not harder, and try and maximize the time you have already committed to being school board members, and trying to figure out how we can make that work. Because I think, I just talked at length about policy. We haven't even begun to talk about the EISA or PR committees that are so critical to what we're doing right now. And I just sat through a long facilities and finance committee meeting, which, they had a lot of things that they needed to discuss as well. So it's not like it's easy to put things aside. But as we sort of move forward, I think this is essential for us to be looking at and seeing how that we can best and maximize the board's time. I did include in the meeting materials tonight a letter we received from the Sanborn Regional Education Association requesting to enter in negotiations on the teacher's contract. The board will have to identify its members for its negotiating team, as well as that team will need to make a response to that letter. I had emailed the board on July 8th regarding the Bakey kindergarten enrollment, which was at 89 students. requesting to post for a kindergarten teacher. Since we posted, we have received 5 applications, which we have not vetted because of my permission was simply only to post. I checked in with Mrs. Lancy this morning, and our current kindergarten enrollment is 87 students. August is when our enrollment is most influx, and it's difficult to offer sort of an exact number of where it is. Mrs. Lancy did provide that last year there were 5 additional enrollments during this period, and in the previous 2 years it was 6 students in each year. So that's quite a bit of detail for my report now. I didn't really pause to give you sort of any time to discuss what I had asked, but any questions or sort of thoughts on the questions I posed specifically in regards to negotiations and the Bakey kindergarten enrollment?
I don't have any comments for the questions, but what I will say, and I appreciate thanking me for the input that I had, and I just want to be clear, my input to the entry plan, which is, in my opinion, fantastic. It's 42 pages, and asking parents to read 42 pages is going to be tough. What I love everybody to read it and encourage everybody to read his entry plan, 100%. My input was only to help out and try to, condense it. So there's links to it and stuff like that. That was my input.
Thank you.
And Mike, I think you have the most experience with negotiating, so you should probably be on that committee.
I could probably be on that. Yeah, I will volunteer for that, and I think anyone who wants to also be a part of that committee should let me know. Email me. Question. Who is typically, I've done it once before. There was, believe, Jeremiah, was it 2 board members or 3?
Two or three, depending.
Or an alternate or something?
We try to have 2, and then you have an alternative. So like, because not everyone can always do that.
Yeah. So if we could get 2.5 of you, that would be including me.
I unfortunately cannot. I picked up 2 brand new contracts.
Yeah.
I have no flexibility in my schedule, unfortunately.
I'll do it.
I was thinking the same. I would love more information about what it involves, but I think it makes sense to have an experienced person and a new person to learn.
Then I'll be an alternate if you want it. Yeah.
Maybe the 3 of us can
Yeah, we'll figure it
tag
out.
team it. Okay.
Yep.
And we'll, Adam, we can work with you.
Yep.
Respond.
Of course.
Formal response.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
I would like to speak to the kindergarten. I think your email was very, very informative, very well written. I appreciated that. I do think if we have that many kids, I do think we learn teachers to maximize the education experience of students and to lessen the risk to the teachers trying to manage what we have set as a classroom size.
Yep. And one thing, one other data point I'll add to that, first grade would be the most likely place to do a movement. If you move from 5 sections to 4, it would push your grade 1 class size on today's numbers to 17.5 students per class.
Okay.
So that is a consideration you'd have to make as well.
My only question that I had for you, Adam, there was, again, appreciate the options and the way you laid out each of the COAs. That made sense to me. If we go with the your recommendation of hiring a 6th kindergarten teacher, you did note that this does represent not only a financial commitment, but adding 1 teacher to the staffing plan. What happens if, so this number was, let's call it 89, so 88, 89. So next year's incoming kindergarten class is 65, right? Is the district now saddled with that position indefinitely as part of the contract? What changes at that point?
Well, at that point, you could consider, like, if it was like pure apples to apples, you could look at something like a RIF. If it's not a position that you could staff any longer, what I would say based on experience is most likely you will have someone leave the district. And this is if you can't fill that position going forward, this person could still move into a different position. So
Okay.
that's how things like this would normally
Okay.
work in my experience.
Move them. So like, for example, current fifth grade class, they hired an extra kindergarten for that fifth grade, that kindergarten year, these fifth graders. And then that they kept moving
Yep.
teachers.
Yep.
So like, so every year that class moves, one of the teachers sort of shifts. That's sort of
Yeah.
how we dealt with it.
Okay.
before.
That makes sense too. All right. Thank you both.
Yeah, because you'll have the problem in first grade next year too.
Yeah.
So your kindergarten could be 65, but your first grade could be 90.
Sure. Great. Thank you.
I support hiring the additional kindergarten teacher and would ask, I know there's still some other vacancies and things are fluid at the summer, so that's fine. We know things will change. My goal, and I think our goal, and I would ask your goal to be that as we approve this real need for an additional kindergarten teacher, we also try and do so without changing the aggregate payroll budget.
Mhm.
You think that's a possibility?
Yes. Yeah, because right now, as I said in my report, we're banking on what we know
Yeah.
today.
Yep.
I have 5 applicants for kindergarten today. I have 0 for science right now.
Yeah.
So that to me is where your aggregate comes.
Yep.
Marie and I have talked about, I wouldn't necessarily term it the worst case scenario, but the scenario under which where we're filled on all the teacher positions and we have roughed out an idea of how we could fund that within the current salary structures.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm not looking to expand the salary constraints of the district in any way. I just think it's the best decision to make for kids.
Thank you very much. And I agree.
I have one more question. In your superintendent's report, you put there's a kindergarten posted, but then there's a long-term substitute for kindergarten. Was that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And nice part is we had at least one of the applicants of the 5 I'm citing who applied for the long-term sub and the kindergarten.
Could we do a long-term sub for 1 year? Just
Um,
for that extra class?
I think that's something we would have to look at because of I had asked the board only to post this position. I didn't want to get into a whole lot of mechanics on that, but my feeling is you would have the best likelihood of filling it with the most qualified applicant if you did that.
That's for me. And my handwriting.
I would also say on the questions that you posed, I am in support of creating a better committee schedule. I think we need to use those much more proactively instead of reactively than we are. So I think that makes sense to pursue.
And having meetings happen consistently, I think, I sit on 3 committees. I can't tell you the last time we actually met.
Mhm.
Okay, if everybody good on that? More questions? Okay, let's move on to item 5 and look at subcommittee reports. Do we have anything to report?
Yeah, I can go over a couple of things. You guys can jump in. So, facilities and finance met today. Apologies that we were late. We have a rooftop unit over the auditorium in this building that is in need of repair. We'll be bringing to the board by next meeting cost to replace versus cost to repair. There's a number of issues with repairing. James, jump in because I'm sure I won't do this justice, but if we repair it at a cost, there's another compressor that can go bad. The secondary issue is that it uses our refrigerant 22. Okay. So it uses refrigerant 22, which is only sold on the black market. From what I understand now. You can't bring it into the States anymore. Companies are taking it from old units and then putting it into for servicing. So it's not something that's available. You know what I'm talking about? You know about the black market? Okay, good. All right. I learned a lot today.
Full of criminals that we got.
We need Dan to start scouring.
Yeah.
I'm talking.
So, even if we,
Dan, like,
yeah. Even if we, so even if we did repair it, really, it's questionable about how long it would last and how much from what we gathered, the refrigerant is currently being sold at about $300 per pound. So there's some substantial costs with the repair. We'll have all the information for the board.
Street value.
Street value. And then there's an exhaust fan in the cafeteria. Less of a cost of about $14,000 that needs to be replaced. That's to keep air flowing in the cafeteria, in the cafeteria itself. So we'll have some information on that. We're working on a fee schedule for Swayze Gym to revise that. And we're going to assist the superintendent with some use for food service and safe serve policies for the concession shack here at the high school. Apparently, we're not in compliance with state laws. District is at risk. So we're going to reach out to the committees that are using it and making them aware and putting a policy in place. Did I miss anything?
The only thing I'd add, it's a good summary of the specific issues with the HVAC system. Some of you might recall last month we had a different air top unit fail. So this is now the second HVAC unit that has failed partial functionality. It's air conditioning, not heating. This is because we are at the end of life of those units. We talked about that previously in some of our capital improvement plans. So while it's important and correct for us to both explore repair as Band-Aids, as well as maybe a targeted 1 to 2 unit replacement, this building is giving us very clear signals that it is at the end of its useful lifespan for these mechanical units. And it's a 20-year useful lifespan, and we're at the end of that. So we should expect these challenges to continue until we have the complete solution.
And prior to you being on the board and on the facilities and finance committee, we did make the decision to continue with the Band-Aid approach.
We're running out of Band-Aids.
I understand that. I agree. I agree. I just want the public to know
And
that that was a year ago.
Yeah,
Right?
and in other words, the Band-Aids, to Dan's point earlier in the earlier meeting, are getting more expensive and less effective.
Yeah. That's all I had.
Okay. Any other subcommittee reports?
I'll say that on behalf of the PR committee, that the Sanborn Community Organization contacted me to let us all know, to make sure I delivered to the community, that there is a SEO meeting on Thursday, September 3rd at 6 p.m. And Adam will be there and speaking and available
Yeah, it's a good way to
for
start.
interaction.
Yeah.
So that should be a good way to start the school year for some community engagement.
Okay. Great. We do not have a student council representative report tonight. We'll have the next one on September 2nd, it appears. So let's move on now to new business. 7.1, school board goals. Adam, do you have any?
I have plenty, but I
would-
didn't want to steal
Nope.
your thunder because we're both listed on this.
I haven't any thunder, and you're listed first, so you go ahead.
Okay. So I talked a little bit about this in my report in terms of the goals. I think there's value in the board consider not only having a short-term goal, but also having long-term goals. And so that way we're measuring ourselves over time as we work towards those bigger goals. In looking through these today, what I also wonder is if the sort of steps to achieving the goals are something that should be worked on by myself and the leadership team, so that we're sort of enacting that both at the district level and the school levels. Because, you have things like here you had written you want to increase the graduation rate from 90 to 95%. I don't know if anyone knows, but the average over the past 5 years is 92.49%.
I think it's important to know that we don't have goals right now.
Right.
We have a
Yep.
drafted wish list.
Yep.
that
Exactly.
is-
But it's just like in looking at those and when we want to put data to it, I think is really important. But I just picked on the graduation one because I could easily look up that number and it was like, okay, so, we got to make sure that the goals are achievable, but also not so like, well, just increase it by this, and we may have been increasing it by much more each year. So it's making sure we do that. But that's why I think having the board sort of look at what the big picture goal is, and then helping us figure out what in the interim the sort of expectation is for that school year, and then have us work through that. Because I do, as I also discussed in my report, I do want the principals and the administrators coming through to present to the board. And I think having that goal framework is critical for them to present versus just, this is what's going on, this is all the cool stuff. I think it's anchoring it back into getting what the board wants and what the expectations are. And, we have our retreat upcoming, and that to me is a really good thing for us to be working on during our retreat.
I like the idea of the objectives, how we're going to get there as a leadership and as a board.
Mhm.
I agree with Katie. Like, there are things that we want to achieve, but how are we going to achieve?
Yep.
And from my perspective, we can't, as a board, in the past, I feel like we have developed the goals as a board in a kind of in a vacuum
Mhm.
without the consultation as much with superintendent and administration.
Mhm.
And I think that's probably a mistake. I think it's smarter for us, as we have done, to make them directional, but not try and outline the how. Because in conversation with the people whose boots are actually on the ground is very important, I think, to have, because you don't know what's achievable, what is a reasonable expectation or not.
Mhm.
So I think making sure that the how is driven by the collective is a little more, a smart way to do it.
We have it attached to our strategic plan. Like, we're thinking of, like, when you think about the golden thread of how everything is connected. And there's a line throughout.
And also, to be selfish, it is in my contract of how you will be evaluating me too. So I'd really like some input into that.
We talked about maybe having a working meeting where we kind of finalize something. I'm having a hard time understanding why this is so difficult to choose goals as a board together. And
I think you have 3 reasonable goals.
Yeah, I think we have.
I think you
chosen-
have your goals.
We have 4 on
Yeah.
this document. We have 4 goals. I think the problem is that if I said my goal is I want to get these, I want to end up in, I don't know, I've been trying to make an analogy to something else. Like, I want to be able to shoot 5 under par on a golf course in Goffstown by, say, September. I don't know that I'm in a position to make that a goal for myself without consultation of my golf coach, who knows my capabilities, who knows what's possible in that kind of time span. So, like, we could have these lofty things. We want to increase graduation rates, but from what we know what the what is, from wherever the from is, but to what, I don't know that we can define that, because we don't have any context for what that means without talking to the superintendent, talking to teacher or administrators, looking at trends of what's possible, right?
Agree.
So I think because we're in a period of transition, I think we just needed to wait until
Yeah.
now
I-
to do it.
Great.
What I
for
would,
scheduling that.
unfortunately, it's sort of becoming a recurring theme this evening. Why don't I bring these back after working with my team for the next meeting, and I will take it a step further and then see where we end up. And if you want to do work, but I think we can get this done pretty quickly, because again, I am being evaluated on these. I have to have them in place.
There may be a
Yeah.
misnomer too.
Sorry.
They're called school board goals, but they should probably be called district goals.
Sure.
Because I don't know that they're ours.
Yeah.
In that sense, in terms of that we should exclusively author them or that they belong to us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it puts the onus of ownership on a very small body. And Adam, you did a great job at pointing out a few times in your superintendent report, kind of the role of the school board from a governance standpoint, that we're not involved in the day-to-day happenings inside of the schools. And so I equate this sort of to a military analogy that we have people operating at the tactical level, our teachers, our paraprofessionals, our coaches. We have then we have people operating at the strategic level, which is our administration, the entire administration team. And then we have people operating at the visionary level, which is the school board. And so to ask people at the visionary level that are not involved in the strategic or tactical level to come up with the goals for everybody else, we don't have that knowledge. And I think, to your point, our 4 goals that we have here, they're more kind of like vision casts. Like, these are the 4 things we'd like to see happen, Adam. And then to Micah's point, we say these 4 things, we've put a little bit of structure to it. Does that make sense from a strategic standpoint? So we said 90 to 95%, and you're like, well, you're already at 92. Perfect. We don't know that, right? So that's where you come in and go, yep, you're already at 92. I think it's fair to take us to 96, right?
Yep.
And we're kind of at that visionary, that governance standpoint, and we really need you and, quite frankly, the administration's input. And Micah, to your point, I don't think it should be our goals. These should be district goals. You know what I mean? Put some onus on the ownership on everybody, you know?
I think what I would have liked to happen is for us to have taken this rough draft wish list and whittled it down to the things that we really wanted to see happen, that we all agreed on, and then present that to Adam to say, how do we make this possible? And that's the part that I feel like.
Yeah, for me, goals 3 and 4 are ones I introduced, ones I'm extremely passionate about. And my belief, nothing will happen if the culture is bad. Like, you won't get anything done. We have 1 employee and he's sitting there. So the goals are set. We grade him on those goals. How he gets it done, that's up to him to get it done and to tell us how he gets it done. You know, I'm fine with 3 and 4. I agree with everything that you guys have said so far. We do need his input.
Agreed. Yeah, I think we're all saying the same thing. I think I just don't agree with how it's being executed. But we can certainly have Adam give us feedback on what we have at this point and then go from there.
I think
I'm sorry. I was just going to say one thing. To Micah's point, this is the first time we're actually engaging, what I can remember, the superintendent to be engaged in the process, which is
That's
important.
unfortunate.
Which is, I agree, which I think is important, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, if it felt like we were kicking the can, that's exactly what we were doing until Adam started.
Right.
So we could.
And I think that's why I'm looking for a movement.
Yep.
It's like, okay, sure. We've
I-
had these
Yeah.
running goals with no
I think
understanding of if you've met them or not for years.
we've been trying to kick the can without saying what I just said. That makes
I'll
sense.
also say, as some, as who's been on the board for 6 years, like, these are probably the best looking goals we have ever had. I think when I first started, we had 3 goals. It was higher staff, better academics, and growth opportunity. Those literally were the goals. Like, I think we have worked really hard to be more intentional as a board, more directive, and more inclusionary of the district. So I do feel like at times we may feel like we're kicking the can, but I feel like this has been the most productive we have been with goal setting. Like, we used to just set goals and then never talk about them again. And I'm guilty of that as a board member. But I do think this is probably the most collaborative we've been in this process.
And they weren't used in the evaluation process.
They were not, no.
Correct. Yeah. So it's important.
I think we got a good path forward, though.
Yeah.
Right, Adam?
Can I explain that path just so I understand it right? Talked about a lot of
Please.
stuff. So we have a draft,
Sure.
which superintendent plans to include in the administrators kind of planning retreat in coming weeks. And some of our draft kind of methodologies or metrics or KPIs are either the wrong number or we have some blanks or X's in there. Is it fair to say that by our next meeting, you'll be able to come back with the administration's perspective and your perspective on exactly what these things should be? Maybe whittling a few down that don't fit into the achievable priorities, maybe adding one or two additional methods underneath those high level goals. And then this group will ratify and finalize and then hit the races.
I think it has to be done by the next meeting. That's why I'm wanting to take this on because, you know, I'm here tonight, but I've been watching these meetings
Yeah.
for some time now, and Kathleen's message
Kathleen's
has
been-
resonated through
Yeah.
YouTube very clearly that this needs to get done. So, you know, I'm just trying to also create a structure under which I facilitate that for the board. So that, again, going back to my sort of point earlier, you're not, you know, spending time and then suddenly it's December and we've got a goal.
Right.
You know, I do that and then, you know, I said, and I don't mind sending these around ahead of time as we're sort of working on them and trying to do, because I think it'll even be before the retreat, because ideally at the retreat, I want them, what are you going to do? Because these goals will also be how they are evaluated.
That's right. That sounds good to me. I would ask that you also think about how on at minimum a monthly frequency as part of a regular inclusion in your superintendent's report, you can report on progress on each one of these goals. Because I don't want to put them back on the shelf.
Fully, well, as I said, I'm being evaluated on it, so I have to create evidence in order to justify an evaluation.
Address some of your concerns.
I'm
Does not-
gonna wait and see what happens next.
Sorry. Patiently.
I think the phrase I'm sort of going with right now is I'm from Missouri.
100%.
Show me is a lot of my life right now.
Well, I mean, and I guess what I feel good about, because I do see what your point is, Kevin. The thing that I really feel good about when I look at these goals, I feel like, Adam, you can clearly tell the spirit of what this goal is after. Yep, for each one. So if you come back with a very, an adjusted version of that makes sense, given all the work that you'll do with the administrative team, teacher, that'll be good. But the spirit of all these is there. I think it's clear enough. Some of them may be a little erratic. Some of them may have too many bullets or not have enough detail. But I think the goal of the goals, as it were, is clear enough for you to get started. Okay. Any other comments on goals? Okay. Let's now move to an RFQ for attorneys from an update from Marie. Potentially.
Speaking on that?
Or Adam.
It says you on the red line.
Flip a
Rooms?
coin.
No, where is that?
I mean, I can take it if you want. All right. So I had given you an overview of the RFQ in my report, along with a full copy of the response for your records. They were the only respondent to the bid. As I also detailed in my report, I have worked with this firm for some time. In fact, they're the only firm I've ever worked with. So I also want to be clear about that as we start the discussion. But they are a reputable firm. And I believe their rate is cheaper than what we are currently paying this fall.
For almost every attorney and associate, from
Yep.
what I read.
Yeah, they basically have one rate and then the lesser rate for, I think, one of their newest.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion and then we can, as a means to discussing
Mhm.
this?
Yep.
if someone is willing to put one out there, that would be appreciated.
Motion on the table to move ahead with retaining Sol, Leslie, Kidder, Seaward, and Lauman as Sanborn Regional District's attorney.
Second.
Discussion.
I don't know anything about this firm other than the information that we have here. And unfortunately, I'm disappointed that we got one response. I was not aware at how this was broadcasted until I messaged you, Marie. So I don't feel like the method, and I don't think there was any ill intent, ill will in any of this. I think we were just trying to get it out there. I don't think we cast a broad net, hence why we got one response. So I don't have anything against this firm. I don't know anything about this firm. I know, Adam, you've spoken positively about this firm, but I was disappointed that we got one response. But I do believe that that is a product of how we cast the net. So I think I'd like to hear what other people have to say.
I wasn't
advertised.
Yeah, I believe we sent out an RFP to 6 firms? 8 firms? 8 firms.
And how do we choose those 8?
I provided Marie a list. I did some searching in the state of New Hampshire of reputable firms, mostly focusing on school districts and then municipalities as a secondary requirement. I gave her a list of the top 8 in no random order, and then asked her to add anybody that she knew of or anybody else that she could think of, or anybody that in the SAU office could think to add.
I had a misunderstanding of my own. I assumed it was much like our, I messaged you, Adam, this week about one of our open positions on here. And you sent me a listing.
Yep.
And that listing is like posted on a site that teachers go to, right? I thought there was something similar for attorneys, right? That we would post it on this site, and like, all the attorneys in the state would have the ability to look at this. I didn't realize that it was messaged to a group of people. That is why we have the result we have, which is one firm, right? So that was a misunderstanding on my behalf on how it was advertised. I didn't realize it wasn't the same process as, say, getting teachers. So that's my own.
Well, it was an RFP, so different process.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like one response out of 8 is surprising. I would think that sending it out to 8 would elicit at least 2 or 3. So, not to say, just
No, I know.
I was surprised we only had 1 as well. I mean, I knew we sent them out. I knew that was the process, but I figured there'd at least be at least 1 or 2 that other ones that would have sent requests back.
So the option, well, the motion is to move forward with it, but is there? We've expressed previously that we feel that there's a significant need to make a change in this area.
Yeah.
Right. For me, Adam's experience with this firm, despite the fact that it's only 1, tips the scales enough for me to support it, I think.
Could we?
How long is this? Sorry. How long, if we say
That was my
sign on the
question.
dotted line, what
Yeah.
kind of?
So it's a letter in my, Marie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would suggest we just sign a letter of engagement, and there's no defined term.
Correct.
Yeah, you need no
So we-
defined
For any
term.
sufficient reason we needed to switch again, we could.
Letter of engagement.
Right.
So it's not like we're locking into
No.
something.
It's not like
It's not a
contract.
term.
Yeah, so then whatever.
You can
And-
do it annual basis.
And I will say for the board, in my previous district, I did not have any kind of
Yeah.
engagement letter with them or anything like that, but it also was never an issue.
Mhm. Yep. So given our stated desire over the past year to make a change, I'd be willing to move forward with this. I did want to just state what I stated for the record, and we can see how this year goes and take it from there. I have no further questions or comments, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else have any other further discussion on the matter?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so the motion is to move forward with this firm, Sewell, Leslie, Kidder, Sayward, and Lauman. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. That brings us to first public comment.
Good evening. Crystal Hatzmanolis, 15A Page Road in Kingston. I recently resigned from my English teaching position at Sanborn Regional High School for many reasons. I felt it was best for me to pursue new opportunities in an environment that aligned with my professional values, ethics, and vision for student success, which was mentioned in my resignation letter. During my time at Sanborn, I had the opportunity to build memorable relationships with students and staff. This past school year was by far the most challenging year I have had in a while in education over the last 12 years, not because of the students or the staff, but because of the administration and lack of leadership at the school. The building administrators ran the school without proper communication, causing confusion and fear, favoritism for both staff and students, and an overall lack of compassion. Many times, important information and dates were communicated last minute, leaving students asking their teachers questions and teachers unable to provide answers. This also left teachers who are known for their planning skills scrambling and confused. An example is course selections. These are typically done in late January. This past year, they did not happen until mid to late May. Parent-teacher conferences always happen twice a year, once for each semester. This year, they were only offered during the first semester. It was never communicated as to why only one conference was held this year. The lack of communication also caused fear. For example, the teacher evaluation process was changed for the 26-27 school year, and it was never communicated to staff. When implementing new procedures, especially relating to teacher evaluations, administrators should review the process and how it works ahead of time. The beginning of the year professional development days would have been an excellent time to inform the staff of this change and review the specific forms that need to be filled out by teachers and administrators. The administrators also did not follow their own procedures for the evaluation process, as they failed to meet with teachers on their yearly goals at the beginning of the year. This is an important step for the implementation of this evaluation system, as it provides guidance as to what staff is looking for support with to ensure their success. Unfortunately for the staff, it caused panic when they got an unexpected email notification with a written observation to review. Luckily for me, I was familiar with this particular evaluation system from my previous district, as well as from my degree in educational leadership. These observations were not only surprises, but they were not accurate and not truthful observations from the administrators. Not only in my experience, but many other staff members have expressed their concerns regarding their evaluations not being accurate or truthful as well. Many end-of-the-year evaluations contain false accusations that also contradicted previous observations. And when administrators were asked to provide examples to staff as how to improve, they were unable to provide feedback or provided examples that were just simply not true. The wonderful paraprofessionals received reviews from an administrator that did not follow the school board policy, and no feedback was asked from the staff who worked with them each day to provide input for their evaluations.
Crystal. Hi, over here. Hi.
Yep, sorry. I'm looking.
Could I request that you, I know this may be difficult for you to do on the fly as you're reading, but you're an
I'll try.
You're an English teacher, you're smart. If you could try and refer exclusively to the processes and not to groups of people,
Okay.
that would be helpful.
Like-
So things that happened are fine. in a
Mhm.
general sense, but using phrases that name specific groups like administrators is a difficult, public meeting topic, right? Because it involves personnel. So if we could say, this was supposed to happen, this never happened,
Okay,
keeping it in that vein,
I'll
please.
do my best.
Thank you. Yeah, I know it's difficult to edit while you're reading.
Um, Let me see, when decisions are made without meaningful communication, when concerns are dismissed instead of addressed, when policies appear to be applied inconsistently, if at all, trust is lost. Sanborn should model the school's motto of Sanborn pride: personalization, risk-taking, integrity, discovery, and empowerment. Instead, it is creating uncertainty about whether every student and staff member is being treated fairly, and it does not encourage staff to teach rigor rather than simplify lessons. In my collective 3 years, I've noticed a steady decline in lowering expectations and reducing standards. This is not pushing our students to be the best they can be, but this last year has taken a dramatic drop. Let me see. When asking questions or holding students accountable, or providing constructive feedback, it is viewed as an attack. When questions are asked, very rarely do people get answers, and we have been told that they will get back to us. The culture around fear of expressing concern. If concerns are expressed, you are viewed as a problem, even when it involves the safety of a student. Not only is it ethically right to make sure students are safe, but after all the issues the district faced with the situation at Bakey, student concerns and safety should never be taken lightly. Throughout the last school year, I've heard many students express their concerns, and other staff members have mentioned the same concerns that they've heard from other students. Students and families should have a school that puts their best interests first. They should not feel the negativity that is coming down from the top. I'm here because I truly care about the quality of education the students receive, along with the environment they're expected to learn in, as well as the staff is expected to work. My concerns are not isolated incidents. They are patterns that have created a negative culture that our students, staff, and families do not deserve. The only regret I have from my time at Sanborn is not speaking up sooner. It was because of the fear of retaliation that I did not speak up. Christine DeRocha has an added role of HR director. She's been the one constant administrator at the SAU level. I'm hopeful that with Dr. Houghton and Christine that they can help move the district in the right direction. The students deserve a school that challenges them academically, supports them consistently, and is led by administrators who are accountable, responsive, and committed to continuous improvement, and so does the staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Crystal.
Now, I'm just going to thank you for speaking. And I'll just let the board know that Mike and I had the pleasure of sitting down with Crystal for 2.5 hours after she was no longer an employee in the district. And, we asked her to speak because it's important, because it wasn't just sitting down and listening to her for 2.5 hours. It was sitting down and listening with hard facts in front of us for 2.5 hours. And I thank you for coming because it's not easy. And I thank you for speaking.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Samantha Snow, and I am a Kingston resident and a mom of 2 boys in the district. I am here tonight to introduce myself and put a face to the name, but also to start a community conversation about recess. I run a play-based outdoor preschool in Kingston, and I also run Pizza and Play at the Kingston Recreation. And my job gives me a lot of opportunities to learn about the benefits of play, namely outdoor unstructured play. But Pizza and Play is kind of why I'm here. It is an event that I hold once a month at the Kingston Rec Center, and it is for ages 4 to 14. And it's basically a 3-hour block of recess. It's unstructured play. We eat some pizza somewhere in there, but it's given me an opportunity to really observe how our children play and how they communicate with each other. And it got me interested and wondering if we are missing opportunities for children to really benefit from the unstructured peer-to-peer play of recess. So that's all I'm going to say for tonight, actually. But I just wanted to, again, introduce myself, and I'm looking forward to future conversations and all of the possibilities ahead of us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Varsity game doesn't start till 8:30, so.
My name is Steve St. Cyr. I'm a Kingston resident. Good evening, members of the school board. Thank you for your time this evening. I'm here to speak about the future of Swayze Gymnasium. As a community, we're facing two challenges. The first is the facilities usage rate that was recently imposed by the Sanborn Facilities Subcommittee. And the second is that the current lease on the gym is ending in December with an option to renew for 5 years. My name is Stephen St. Cyr. I serve as the Sanborn Middle School girls basketball coach and the president of Sanborn Community Basketball, better known as Rec Basketball. I've been a Newton Kingston resident since 2013. I have 3 daughters in the Sanborn School District and have volunteered with Sanborn Community Basketball for the past 8 years. If you're not familiar with our organization, Sanborn Community Basketball has been serving our community for more than 15 years. We provide affordable year-round basketball opportunities for children from kindergarten through 8th grade, including weekly skill sessions, team practices, and 2 levels of league play. Our programming is aligned with the player development goals established by Sanborn varsity coaches, the athletic department, and the broader Sanborn profile for success adopted by this board. For middle school and high school athletes, we supplement the school basketball program, offering year-round weekly skills sessions led by professional coaches. For Kingston, Newton, and Fremont residents beyond school age, we also provide adult open gym time 1 to 2 times each week. Beyond our recreational program, Sanborn Community Basketball also serves as the high school basketball boosters organization. We work closely with the athletic department and the varsity, junior varsity, and middle school coaching staff to support our student athletes. We organize senior nights and team building events, purchase warm-up gear for both varsity teams, provide college scholarships, purchase equipment, and bring in guest coaches, trainers, and speakers who directly benefit Sanborn students. The impact of our organization continues to grow. During the 25-26 school year, we served 225 players in our Winter Youth League alone, 140 participants in our Fall and Spring Skills program, and we're supported by 25 volunteer adult coaches. We also have between 8 and 12 high school students who volunteer throughout the year as youth coaches and referees, giving back to the next generation of players. Since 2021, participation in our programs has increased 18%, more than 18%. At its core, Sanborn Community Basketball exists to strengthen our community while developing young people both on and off the court. We strive to teach leadership, character, teamwork, confidence, and sportsmanship while building fundamental basketball skills, preparing future Sanborn student athletes, fostering community connections, and of course, making the game fun. In short, Sanborn Community Basketball serves hundreds of local children every year. We provide affordable access to youth sports, develop future players for the Sanborn basketball programs, and create meaningful opportunities for volunteerism, leadership, and community engagement. As a community organization, we've been fortunate to utilize several district gymnasiums over the years, with Swayze Gym serving as the primary facility. It hosts our weekday evening practices after middle school athletics and our weekend games throughout the season. We don't view ourselves simply as a facility user. We view ourselves as a community partner. Access to Swayze Gym has played an essential role in the growth and development of countless young athletes, many of whom have gone on to represent Sanborn at the middle school, high school, and even collegiate levels. As I mentioned, a little over a month ago, Sanborn Community Basketball was notified that the proposed facility usage fee for Swayze Gym would increase to $137 per day. After carefully reviewing our budget, we determined that this rate was simply not sustainable. It would fundamentally change, if not end, the recreational program as we know it. At the subsequent facilities subcommittee meeting, we proposed an interim community stakeholder rate of $75 per day, which the facilities committee graciously approved. We sincerely appreciate the decision. However, it's important to recognize that significant daily facility fees don't just affect Sanborn Community Basketball. They affect local families by increasing costs, limiting participation opportunities for children, and creating barriers for many community organizations that provide valuable services throughout the district. In addition to the facility rate, the board is also likely aware that the lease for Swayze Gym expires this December with an option to renew for an additional 5 years. We hope the school board will continue to support the community programs by renewing the lease. Swayze Gymnasium is more than a line item on a budget. It's a community asset with value that far surpasses the expense. Renewing the lease represents the district's continued commitment to youth programs, community partnerships, and bringing our towns together. With that in mind, we respectfully ask the school board to place the future of Swayze Gym, including both the facility usage rate and the lease renewal, on the agenda for your next meeting so we can have an open and collaborative discussion about its future. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Good evening, Pam Brown, Kingston. First, thank you so much for your service. I know how much you work at home as well as here to prepare for our meetings. The good news is that Wallet Hub has announced New Hampshire is the 4th best state for educational excellence in the country. That just came out today, so congratulations to us. We'd be higher except for apparently security issues and bullying is still an issue for New Hampshire, so that's something we need to work on. When it comes to our policy manual, I know that was mentioned tonight. I've served on the policy subcommittee when I was on school board, and I'd recommend that when you look at policies from the New Hampshire School Board Association, remember there's another organization that is a professional organization of school board members, the School District Governance Association of New Hampshire, which offers alternative policies, sample policies for districts. So you should shop around to find the best policy that'll fit your needs. And some of the policies are mandated and some are advisory. So not every policy is necessarily one you'd adopt. We did have one that we recently jettisoned. It was JBAB, which had some difficulties, but they're always being revised. So just shop around for the best policy. Also, 2 more things. As your state rep, some laws have been approved that affect the district. HB 564, and that indicates that the SAU budget, office budget should be separate from the operating budget. So it's going to be 2 warrant articles in next March. The default budget will now be done by this budget committee and not by the school board. And HB 1300 has just been approved by the governor, and that will be voted on by voters in November. And that is proposing a cap on the growth in taxes allocated to school district budgets. I looked and we're within the cap already. We're very frugal. We've only grown 1.24% for this coming year. And the administrative budget for SAUs is being capped, if approved, at 6%, and ours is at 5.988%. How do I know that? I don't know. But it needs a 60% vote, majority vote to pass. And Kingston did approve a tax cap for the town budget. So it's just something to be concerned about. I'm not a fan of caps. As an economist, they're like price controls. Run for these committees and look at the budgets and make your own decisions. So to me, I think it's a lazy way to address spending and property taxes, but it's going to be on, it looks like it's going to be on all the budgets. And then finally, the Sanborn Community Organization did request over a year ago that you consider moving your meeting times to later in the evening so parents could attend the meetings. And I see you haven't done that. Have you considered perhaps moving to 7 or 6:30 to facilitate parental attendance? Just something to consider. Thanks again for all your work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm gonna wait 7 seconds. Okay, let's move on to old business, an update on Apogee and the website.
All right. So that work has been moving along a little slower than I'd like. I met with everyone this week. What we ended up doing was looking at a number of, I'll label them exemplar Apogee sites so that we could maybe get the ideas flowing on how we can get this moving. My concern with coming into the process sort of part of the way in was the sample they designed was basically what our current website is. And I wanted something a little bit different and newer. So that's why we took the opportunity to look at some different sites and come up with some different ideas. So I'm working with Apogee now on getting a mock-up of that done. And once we got that, I will send that out so people can get a chance to see it. Hopefully, once we can get this moving very quickly. I have set an audacious goal with Apogee that I'd like to see the new website up and running by August 1st. That's probably a little too aggressive, so just to keep everyone's expectations. But the reality that I see here is that back to school communication has to happen through Apogee. I cannot have it happening through one system and then switching midway through. So we have to get that done. I think everyone understands that and knows what needs to get done. I am fortunate that this is the third time I've done this, so I know what we need to do at our end and what they can do at their end. So I think we're in a good place with that, and I think that will start to happen very quickly. So,
Do we have I'm sure there's part of this plan is for community adoption. If we're going to do our communications through it, we need people to download the app.
yes. Oh yeah,
be a whole
that's
thing.
why we want to have back to school communication
Right.
come through that app,
So
because
how do
that
we-
will push it.
How are we gonna let people know to
They
do
will
that?
provide us with a full marketing package
Oh, great.
that will have all the stuff need to
Website.
do it, and you'll have QR codes and posters all over the place. Yep. Yep.
Great.
I wasn't at the last meeting, so I know we made a decision, I guess, to move forward. I'm just curious, what was the final number to get out of the other contract, and where did that money come from?
It was $9,000, give or take a few $100 for 2 more. Well, we had to keep this year. We had to pay for fiscal 27, so that was 9,000. And then the following year, we had to pay for that one.
So 18 grand?
Yes,
Okay. And where is that money coming from?
The
the
E-rate.
E-rate fund,
The what?
The E-rate fund.
Okay.
not
Which was,
from the general.
there was something good about that.
Yeah, it's not, it doesn't touch the general fund.
Yeah, it's cost neutral.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That was what we.
Right. Yep. Thank you.
Dr. Houghton, thanks for that update. As we think about rolling this out when the site does go live, particularly in informing the community about their need to download this app, One of the things we spoke about previously is just making sure that this is a tool, a potentially useful tool for non-school related members of our community. So I would just like us to think about and consider how we can get this update outside of the school district, utilizing other community resources, libraries, whatever. So folks know that this is a great new resource.
We have a
Yeah.
QR code. We can put it on the cable news station. And people can take it.
For all 7 people who watch that.
Well, I still am
Baby
concerned.
steps.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned necessarily because I'm sure they have something in place for this, but we talked about, user groups with different kinds of permissions, right?
Yeah, I was actually going to
Okay.
go into that because I have some experience with that. So the question had come up in previous meetings of how that all works and that kind of stuff. So there's 2 products that basically Aptigee, Thrill Share, and the app basically allow communication through everything. So if I said it's snowing, we're not having school today, everyone that downloads the app will get that message because there's no restrictions to it. All of you have students in our schools. We have a separate product called Rooms that what you will do is you will log in. Everyone has their email address that they would have connected to Alma, our student information system right now. And probably at this point in life, it's about 90% of our users are using Google accounts. So you would log into the app using that account, basically like a Google single sign-on, and then you will start to get the rooms information specific to your students. So you won't get other classrooms. If your student is in 4th grade in Mrs. Smith's class, you will only get the messages that Mrs. Smith sends out. You won't get, if Mrs. Jones is in the next classroom, you will not get Mrs. Jones's messages. You will only get that in addition to the general messages. And then, as said, what we can do is you can even break it down like athletics and stuff like that. You can set up groups and have those messages being sent out through Rooms as well. But Rooms is, that's invite only. The app itself is anybody can download it, anybody can access it, which is, part of the reason that we want to have good communication and good promotion of everything that's going on here. Because, Mrs. Smith may do a great job with the horticulture unit that she's doing in her classroom. But those messages are only going to parents, and we have to be mindful of, and we're already starting to work on the idea of breaking out that communication. So those general messages are getting into the community and people can see what's going on there. And I think having that ability with the video and photos, I think that's going to be also part of, as we always hear the saying, a picture says 1,000 words. So, trying to, as someone who's very verbose, as you've seen already in my report, trying to get them down to those pictures and give people a sense of what's going on. But yeah, it'll come together. And I think it's any help I can get to get that out in the community, I think is like, I can only put the QR code so many places. We have to encourage people to do that, which, there is always a section of population that isn't watching these meetings or, connected, with, say, community basketball or something like that.
Do the rooms end? So like the end of the year. So let's say my kid goes from 5th to 6th grade, but then the teacher, does it stop? You're not going to keep getting messages from a teacher that you no longer have.
Yes. What we will do at the end of next school year is we will have a shutdown date.
Okay.
So it's June 30th. So Mrs. Smith thought, oh, really liked my students really have a few things I want to finish off the year. And we did this one thing and I want to send that out before June 30th. She can do that. After June 30th, she can't. The same thing too is let's say your student has shown some tremendous academic promise and is changing grades or changing classrooms. We're pulling a file each night from Alma, that's going to update that grade information. So if they're moving, that's going to change. Or if they're in like high school and the semester changes, their classes will change in rooms, so they won't be picking up that
Some of the
information.
other apps like Sports U, Dojo, a few other ones, like I still get messages from like.
Yeah, you gotta leave the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Class Dojo is like the bane of my existence. Yes.
But Sports U is like you have to leave the team.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it doesn't reset.
yeah. That's not under this umbrella, unfortunately. So-
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to having, a cleaner website and a lot more ability for transparency and communication.
Agreed.
We were trying to figure out the logo to put on the app yesterday because the current district logo, I think, would just get lost on someone's app screen. So trying to come up with something different, but
It's fairly, it's not clear when
no.
shrunken down.
Yes.
It's not favicon ready, as it were.
Yes. That's where we're wondering about maybe an old English S to differentiate a little bit from the athletics program of the high school.
Right.
Great progress. Thanks.
All right. Then where am I?
Like a public comment.
Thank you. I've lost my way. Here I am. Okay. Second public comment, if we have one. Okay. Then on the next meeting, on the subject of the next meeting agenda, in accordance with policy BEDB, we just want to let everybody know that any items to be placed on the agenda should be received by the superintendent at least 7 days prior to the meeting. So if we have agenda items that we've requested, we want to give that full week at the very least. And the next Sanborn Regional School Board meeting will be held on Wednesday, August 19, 2026 at 6 p.m. in the library at Sanborn Regional High School. Would someone like to now call us into non-public session?
I'd like to make a motion to move us into non-public RSA 91-A semicolon 3 Roman numeral 2. A, for the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee or the disciplinary of such employee. C, matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than the member of this board. D, consideration of the acquisition, sale, or lease of real or personal property.
Oh, just
Second.
any discussion? We will roll call in. James,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Jeremiah,
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Heather,
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Yeah. Thanks.
We are.